So one of the paradoxes of research is you never know how things are. You only know how they were when you did the research. One of the fundamental ideas behind anthropology, which is a discipline that really started in the middle of the 19th century around the peak of, Western colonization of underdeveloped societies, is the idea that in order to understand what's going on in a simpler or a more primitive society, you really have to get your head into how people feel and think about what's going on in their own environment. And so traditionally we take a very well-educated, powerful, upper-class, usually white man, and put them through lots of training to understand the perspectives of local people and learn the language, understand the culture. This can take years, and it's a very expensive process. At the end of that, you go into somebody else's society for a relatively short period of time, maybe a year, maybe only a few months, and you try to build an understanding of how people really think about what's going on. That whole approach, I would argue, is as dead as the dodo in terms of its relevance to social research now. Because now we have, hundreds and hundreds of local bloggers and people posting on Instagram and people talking about what's going on in their environment. We've got people with tertiary degrees in sociology that are actually from there, that are native speakers of those languages. So the ability to really understand in a granular fashion what's going on in a remote environment now. It could be as remote as a jungle in the Amazon or parts of Papua New Guinea or East African districts that haven't even had telephones until 5 years ago. But now there's this kind of self-revealing network of people that are from there that are like native to that area. So the whole idea of an outsider coming in and trying to make sense of what the little locals think about things, I think is rapidly being superseded by having people with mechanisms that allow them to communicate with you like what they actually believe. So one of the paradoxes of research is you never know how things are. You only know how they were when you did the research. And if you're doing a traditional handcrafted detailed model, it might be weeks to months at minimum before your actual field research translates into material that you can use to understand the environment. And sometimes it's years, right? I mean, you go and do a field study of something as part of an anthropology PhD, you might be writing up your dissertation 6 years later, and like that's an eternity in a fast-growing city or in a place where you've got significant climate change, where things that you thought might be factors in 1 year turn out not to be a few years later. Cities in particular are growing so rapidly across the globe that what we see is people coming up with solutions that would have been appropriate for a situation that existed a year or two ago when they did the research. And even city governments do this. They come up with plans that would have made sense for a situation that used to exist, but it's already too late because the city has just grown so fast. So speed of response turns out to be critical. Speed at volume, right? Generating large amounts of material, processing it quickly, having a quick revisit so you can quickly iterate and check what you're seeing, allows you to keep up with the rapidly changing environment. And that happens in a non-emergency sense, like it's just a rapidly growing city, or it can happen in an emergency sense, like a tsunami just hit your city, or an earthquake just hit your village. All your maps are immediately out of date. Any work that you did on route safety or the ability to move from one part to another or what bits of the city are working, it's all out of date. So how do you rapidly go at scale on the ground and rapidly refresh that data? It's basically impossible to do it unless you've got a network of locals that can do it for you.